Good evening, everyone. Over the past few years in both my master's and in this program, I've come to find that JSTOR is a really incredible resource for academic research. The number of digitized articles and books is overwhelming. My initial search for this discussion post resulted in over 200,000 articles and book chapters that had recently published, which is pretty staggering. Looking through the results in more detail, I found that the overwhelming number of articles from historical journals and books and other publications on historical folklore focused on its dominant role in Irish culture and history. But there was also a substantial number dedicated to Indian folklore. Since I'm not nearly as familiar with Indian history or stories or folklore, I elected to explore that topic a little bit further. Like in other parts of the world, folkloristics in Indian academia is experiencing an albeit limited resurgence in popularity as a line of historical inquiry. That resurgence is part of a growing interest in India's history, brought in by local indigenous Indian historians rather than European or especially British historians. The resurgence of interest in Indian folklore has been clearly demonstrated by D.K. Bhattacharya and J.S. Bhandari, both professors at Delhi University, who argue that the resurgence is largely due to India's National Folklore Support Center, which is recently established at the turn of the 21st century. Folkloristics in India had, up to the mid-20th century, been pursued more as a cultural curio to be preserved, rather than a legitimate historical field. Extensively done, or almost exclusively done, by European historians. That external influence of European historiography is further evidenced by the limited historical research into Indian folklore that was being conducted in Hindi or any other Indian languages. It was almost all exclusively done in English. And some important publications, even by Indian historians, into their folklore had only translated from English into Hindi as in the final years of the 20th century. Indian folklore really started being researched in the early 2000s with Dr. Soyaman Sen's book, uh, Kasi Janita Folklore, The Context, Discourse, and History, which explored a body of regional folklore in India, and Dr. M.D. Muthukumarasamy and Molly Kushal's joint book, which was titled Folklore, Public Sphere, and Civil Society, which explored all of the ways and reasons that folklore had influenced culture and public discourse in India, especially in the uh, more illiterate communities there. These books and articles all show a noticeable trajectory away from the Eurocentric notions of indigenous folklore as a kind of literature or fiction or something suitable for children to read, and more towards a much more modern idea, which is that their pursuit is central to understanding a society's history and culture. Thank you.